everybody. It's our last story week. I'm going to kind of miss it. It's been nice reflecting on stories. We're living in a crazy time. So I was thinking of a story that I wanted to tell after reading some of the literature related to families and how objects and things can be a cohesive device for a family and how relationships are formed. I was thinking of my dad and what was the thing that connected me most with him. And it was, well, he grew up on a farm in Oklahoma. He was a farm boy, and he had a father who was very strict, a German immigrant, and his mother was this teacher. She was kind of an intellectual, but she was really miserable on the farm. And he grew up pretty much an only child because his siblings were much older. So he was on the farm all by himself. And so he learned to live with the animals and with nature. And I think that's what he brought to my life. So in this particular instance, about a duck that he brought into my life and how that connected me to him. And I'd like to tell you about Danny the duck. So I grew up in a really nice middle-class neighborhood. We didn't have much money, but we had a big house and a big picture window that looked over at the Columbia River. And of course, a vegetable garden, because my dad was a gardener. I was about 9 years old, and I would beg my dad for an animal. I always wanted a dog, and I thought it was strange because he grew up with the animals, but he would always say, "No, you're not getting a dog. No dog for you." I go, "But why? I want a dog. I could take care of it." He goes, "I'll tell you why. We don't have a fenced backyard, and I'm not letting any animal be tied up all day long while you're off doing your thing. So no animal." So he'd let me have like guinea pigs and snakes and things like that. Well, it wasn't quite enough. Anyway, one morning I was sleeping. It was Easter, the day before Easter. I was sleeping when suddenly I felt this little thing on my cheek, and I woke up. Oh, and right there was this little green duck. Oh, the cutest thing ever. And he was just like biting my neck and stuff. And I looked up to my doorway, and there was my dad peeking through. He had a little smile on his face, and all he said to me was, "Happy Easter, Frida." Well, that duck was my life for the next couple of years. And the duck had rule over the whole neighborhood because we didn't have a fenced yard. So everybody knew it because she or he, it was Danny the duck, would travel everywhere and visit neighbors. We would get phone calls from Mr. McCormick across the street saying, "Yeah, Fred, you might," that was my dad's name, Fred, "you might want to come and get the duck, Danny, because I'm going to be leaving. I don't want to leave him in the backyard by myself." So my dad would go and get the duck and bring it home. I mean, Dad would do everything for that duck. I remember I wanted it to have a place to swim, and he bought this plastic wading pool, and we had it in our backyard. We would fill it with little fish and pollywogs, and Danny would be in the swimming pool half the day going splashing and having fun. And I'd look over, and my dad would just be smiling, looking at that duck play. Everybody knew it. I remember another time we got a call from a neighbor, and she was complaining because apparently Danny the duck had walked over to their house and started attacking the woman's legs that had nylons. He wasn't really attacking, he was like kissing her. He liked her, and he was running her nylons. So that was that complaint. There was one time I went to school, and I knew, because Danny Duck followed me everywhere, that I needed to go to school without the duck. So I would have to like wait and make sure the duck was somewhere else, and I would run out to the street and hurry off to school. Well, this one particular day, Danny caught me, and I get almost all the way to school, and Danny had been kind of hiding behind bush. Suddenly this little duck walks into my classroom with me. So here I am, a 9-year-old in 4th grade with this little duck next to my desk. Well, Mr. Fletcher, the principal, wasn't too happy about that, so he came and said, "Frida, come here. You know, I don't think school's a place for a duck, so I think I need to have you take him home." I was so mad at that duck. I took the duck under my arm and I ran home, and I went around the back of my yard. I put the duck there, Danny the duck. Remember, we didn't have a fence, so I had to leave him there. So I had to trick him and bribe him. I had all these worms I left out to keep him busy for a while so I could go back to school. Then I went back to school. Another morning, I remember I was in bed. Seemed like I slept a lot then. And I was waking up. It was a Saturday morning. And I heard this low voice. "Oh, look at that over there, Danny. Oh, would you look at the size of that tomato worm?" It was my dad's voice. So I went over to the window to see who he was talking to. And there was that big man, 6'4", 250 pounds, walking through his garden with this little yellow duck behind him, and he would take the tomato worms and like plop it in Danny's mouth. Oh, there's another one, Danny, look at that. Oh, I love my dad. I love my dad at those moments because that showed his sweetness, you know, because he could be really tough and unemotional. I mean, I remember he had a big thick belt. If we were home 5 minutes late for dinner, we got it. So to see that side of him always like made my heart big. One day, I came home from school and I had this foreboding, and I was feeling really, something wasn't right. And I started to drive home and I noticed my dad's car was already in the driveway. And he ran outside and he said, Frida, I don't want you to go outside in the backyard. I want you to go right to your room. I go, why, am I in trouble? I just want, don't go in the backyard. And his eyes, there were tears in it, and I knew right then something had happened to my duck. And I go, Dad, where's my duck? Where's my duck, Dad? Where's Danny? He goes, I need you to go to your room. So I went to my room, but I couldn't help it. I looked out the window, and there in the backyard were spread all these feathers, and I knew my duck had died. But you'd think my dad would hug me at that moment, you know, but he was so mad to see me sad that he couldn't show that tenderness. He said, you are never getting another animal. He got pissed. And I thought, God, that's not what I need from him right now. I need him to hug me. But the next day, when my sisters and brother and I decided we wanted to have a little burial for the duck, I look out the window and there's my dad digging a hole for that little duck and taking its little body wrapped in paper and putting it in the ground and then burying it and then asking all of us kids to come down. We did a little ceremony over that duck, and my dad just had his arm around me. Didn't shed a tear, just put his arm around me. And I hold that image with me until today.